I'm gonna show you how to get rich, extremely rich, wealthy, instantaneously. Not over a year, not over a month, I'm talking not even overnight, right now. Now, I understand you might be skeptical, so I wanna give you some evidence, because if I haven't done it before and I'm a random guy, fair enough. Anyone can have a condo, anyone can have a rented Lambo. You cannot have what I'm standing on. I'm on a $50 million house, my house, here in Malibu. We're on Billionaires Row, the most expensive real estate in the entire country. Over there, you have Nobu. We're in the heart of Malibu. Right there's Larry Ellison's homes. 5 of them, he's my neighbor. So here we are, and this house is no slump. This is one of the nicest houses on all of Billionaires Row. Go ahead and look at that. Forget me, look at my house. Now, I only bring this up to you because, well, you might be thinking, is this a rental? Because what I'm about to tell you is gonna sound absurd. It's gonna sound wild, it's gonna be unbelievable, which is why you have to actually hear me out. So I'm gonna show you my room, I'm gonna show you my closet, because you're like, well, what if he's just visiting, right? That's one of my cars there. What if this is an Airbnb? What if this is just someone else's house? Well, if it's someone else's house, my stuff probably wouldn't be in the room, right? I wouldn't have a closet full of clothes. Well, that's not the case. So what I'm gonna cover in this video is how to instantly bridge the gap between a version of you that isn't super wealthy and a version of you that is. Now, I love alpacas and llamas. Now, of course, you could say I just put that on there, no problem, right? Now, here's my restroom. Some more accolades. Again, you could say I put some toothbrushes and I set up a set, no problem. Well, look at my closet. All my hats. This is just one of many closets I have in this house with a bunch of clothes. And as we walk through, you can see my shoes, right? My suits, some of my suits. And I just moved in a few days ago. I still got to hang up some TVs and do all sorts of stuff. Here's another closet I have. The only reason I'm showing you all this, right? There's my car wash guy taking a picture of the view. It's his first time seeing it. So I just want to show you because it's undeniable evidence that I have done it. And I'm 27. I have accomplished this. Now, it's not my first sign of success. It's not like I came into money overnight. It's not like my parents have the money. Okay, I built this myself, and I did it using specific tools that I'm going to show you in this video. I briefly want to go outside here. Motion sensor. Look how big this door is. Look how beautiful it is. We're standing over glass. Okay, I just want you to have a perspective on the evidence. Okay, I have to prove it because who knows? Maybe you don't know who I am, right? You got the Lotus, my Ferrari, one of my Ferraris. I got my G-Wagon. I mean, I have so many cars that are not even here. I got a tow truck coming later for my other cars. That's my house manager's car. There's my Porsche GT3, my new 992 2.2. Anyways, I have 9 cars. This is my house. Now we're gonna go sit down. We're gonna be in my theater, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I got here. As a matter of fact, I'm not even gonna make a cut. I'm gonna walk with you because I want you to understand how real this is. I don't need any edits. I want you to be with me so you understand everything coming from my mouth is the truth. I'll let my camera guy go in front of me. And here we go. So, how do you get here instantly? How do you get here overnight? Your consciousness has to enter a different paradigm. Imagine this. Imagine being an Olympic athlete and you wake up out of a coma and suddenly you weigh 500 pounds. Well, are you gonna stay 500 pounds or are you instantly gonna go back to the Olympic training? Are you instantly gonna go back into a different reality? By the way, Carbon Beach, you can look it up, Billionaires Row. So here's my theater. We got this beautiful stars. And by the way, what better thing from what I'm about to talk about than the stars and the universe? Because that's really what this video is all about. So I'm gonna stand right here and I'm gonna give you a mini seminar. I'll have you sit down in my movie theater and I'd like you to listen to me. So you would be an Olympic athlete. You would get back up and you would go train. So the same thing happens. Imagine being worth $500 million and then you get to go back in time to this moment. What changes in how you think, in who you are, in your habits, in your behavior, in your motivation, in your actions, in the people that are around you, in your environment? Something radically shifts. Now, the problem is people don't make radical shifts. They make small shifts, which to them are big. Suddenly they're a little bit more confident. They went from $6,000 a month to $7,000 a month. They went from 20K a month to 25 or 40. These are small shifts. These aren't massive changes in your internal identity and your consciousness. Now, the concept I'm about to tell you is gonna sound very fucking woo-woo, but I've done this and I've accelerated my progress in such a way that has allowed me to have a life very few people get to live and 0 get to live at 27 years old unless they built fucking Facebook or Amazon or something insane. So at 27 years old, only helping people and having my own businesses and being an entrepreneur, I have been able to produce this lifestyle. How have I done it? I'm about to give you the secrets. So, timelines. What are timelines? There's this theory in quantum physics where everything is happening at once, every possibility, there are infinite possibilities all occurring in parallel at the exact same time. So we have, right, in our regular world, we have 3 dimensions. So you have second dimension, right, means that things go this way and this way, 2 dimensions, like on a piece of paper. They don't also go this way. 3 dimensions, we're in 3 dimensions. 4 dimensions means you can kind of look into this dimension. So imagine floating up above your body, looking at the screen right now. That is what the 4th dimension looks like. But what if instead of just one version of you, there were infinite versions of you looking at a screen? There were also infinite versions of you maybe already being a president or a billionaire or ruling the world, or versions of you that are already dead, or versions of you that are married with kids and a family, and versions of you that never had that. Well, again, that's what the 4th dimension looks like. Now, what if you were able to, your consciousness were to leave this reality and go into another timeline where you all of a sudden are on a massive trajectory to have success? Well, think of it this way. If I take one step this way, I've now changed my future. What if I take a step this way? I'm also on a different timeline. So imagine in this moment in time, I have 2 options. I could take a step here, or I could take a step here, or I could go forward, backwards, or not even move. Well, if my conscious mind is floating up above and I take a step this way, it may look like nothing has changed in this moment, physically. But my conscious mind left, zoomed out, right, floated above my body, and left the timeline I was in and went into another. For example, in some timelines, Kobe Bryant was never Kobe Bryant, or Kobe Bryant actually landed his helicopter safely with his daughter, they had a tournament, and then went back home. Well, in this timeline, he's dead. So this theory sounds like woo-woo, but I'm trying to give your mind something to grab onto so you can grasp it. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. In this timeline, he's no longer with us. Well, in another timeline, maybe there was never a shooter. Maybe he was never even Charlie Kirk. Maybe he was never even married. Well, there are infinite possibilities and infinite timelines. What if your consciousness, right, could literally leave your current body and enter another timeline where your fate, where your destiny is to be worth billions of dollars, where your destiny is to have massive success? Well, you could literally surf this, right? It's called soul surfing. Well, if I could leave my consciousness, my body, I could leave where I'm at, and I can now enter a different reality, right? Zoom into another version of me standing here in the movie theater where I become a multi-billionaire. Well, what changes? And this is exactly what I want to teach you how to do, because it sounds like woo. It sounds crazy. It's hard to grasp the concept because sometimes you're so in the reality, you're like, how can I ever leave? You can't. Your physical body cannot leave where it's at. Your physical body is cemented to where it's at. But your consciousness can actually leave this timeline into a parallel universe, in a parallel timeline, where you do have everything you're looking for. How does that work? Well, if instantaneously you sat there and you knew what your future looks like, you knew what your destiny looks like, and there's an infinite amount of possibilities, right? Think about how much even one decision can alter your life. This is called the butterfly effect. If you were to go in a time machine, go back in prehistoric times where dinosaurs were roaming the earth, and there was a butterfly there, and you somehow harmed that butterfly, the course of history could permanently have been changed to where you and I aren't even born, or the world would have already ended. That's how powerful the butterfly effect is. Well, what if you woke up 5 minutes late one day and you got in your car 5 minutes late, and that resulted in you getting in a car accident, and now you're paralyzed the rest of your life? Or it resulted in you going to a Starbucks or a coffee shop where you met your future lover and you end up having kids with them. And if you had never left 5 minutes late, 5 minutes early, got it to a red light, didn't get to a red light, or had a certain path or routine, you would have never met that person. Well, that's what the butterfly effect is. And simply put, anything you do, everything you do, puts you in a new fork in the road. And every decision you make can either take you down this timeline or this path, or this path. So the question is, are the decisions you're currently consciously making aligned with a timeline in which you have massive, infinite success? Or are they aligned with a timeline where you end up sick, unhealthy, and just not where you want to be? And this is how you make the instantaneous change. It's realizing what the version of you that is in the future had to have done in this moment. Maybe not strategically, right? You may not have the answers on how you're gonna go make billions of dollars yet, because you're not far enough along the timeline to where the ideas popped up. You're not far enough along the timeline for where the company was started or the connection you needed to make happen. But sometimes there's serendipity. And that serendipity shows up when you are on the right timeline. I remember, and this is a true story, I'll even put some B-roll over this so you can see it. I remember I'm in Dubai, and prior to this, one of the biggest motivating factors when I was moving out of my parents' house, I was playing a song by Jason Derulo called Savage Love. And I kept watching the video on repeat because this video, for some reason, anchored me. There was a house I went to in Palisades, right? Actually, I thought at the time it was the nicest I've ever seen. And it's an unbelievable house. But it was a $25 million home. This is a $50 million home, so I can't even imagine that I'm here. And this is in 2020. And I walked in that house and that song was playing in the background. And it created an anchor, a trigger that reminded me of wealth. And I didn't know it at the time. It happened unconsciously. And when I was home, the song came on and instantly I felt hunger and motivation. I'm like, I'm gonna go get a mansion. And I start playing this song in my room back and forth. And I had 2 steps to walk. My room was this big. And that was it. And I was pacing back and forth like this for 2 hours, playing that song. And all of a sudden I had literally in those 2 hours created $75,000, which is what I needed to move into this mansion, get furniture and fly out my staff, hire a chef and do all that. And it anchored a lot of abundance. So Jason Derulo was a symbol of abundance in my mind. And a year later, I go to Dubai. I'm with a girl I'm madly in love with. We go to a restaurant called Billionaire. Think about the odds, right? Billionaire. I'm at Billionaires Row now. It's just so funny. And all of a sudden, I go to the restroom, and I didn't just go to the restroom. I'm like, I want to go pee, and I was holding it. There was a show, and I'm holding it for like 35 minutes. And finally, I'm like, I can't hold it anymore. We got to go right now. We start walking to the bathroom. It's about a 5-minute walk to the bathroom. 2 minutes, and she's like, I left my bag. I gotta go get it. We go back to get her bag. We pick up her bag. Then we go to the bathroom again. And at this point, I'm about to pee my pants. I walk in to take a piss. I start peeing, and I look to my left. I hear 2 people speaking English. Finally, no foreigners. And I look, and it's Jason Derulo. And I become his friend on the spot. And you could literally see the next day he invited me to his concert. I started interviewing him. We decided we're going to open like a real estate fund potentially. And we started connecting. And that all happened. Why? Because at some level in 2020, when I walked in that house, I entered a new timeline. Consciously, my conscious mind just went, oh yeah, you're going to have this lifestyle. You're going to be like this guy. You're going to have all of that. And I associated instantaneously to Jason Derulo. And all of a sudden, a year later, I'm friends with Jason Derulo. I'm getting invited to go to his concert. Who is this random 22-year-old that he's connecting with, inviting to a concert, inviting him to work out, inviting him to a yacht in Dubai when he's getting swarmed? And as famous as he is in the US, he's significantly more famous overseas. And I'm like, wow, this timeline thing is kind of crazy, but I never said it to anyone because I sound like I'm crazy. It literally sounds woo-woo. So then I continue about my life and I start imagining certain things. I imagine I broke up with this girl, and prior to breaking up with her, right, at this time period, I was making $1 million a month, and I start losing money every month. I stopped making $1 million, I go down to 800, then 600, then 500, then 400, and all of a sudden my bank account's at $7,000 on New Year's Eve, 2021, and I break up with this girl. And in that moment, when I broke up with her, right, I entered a different timeline. I committed to something else. I unconsciously had a feeling that became conscious on New Year's Eve, which is why I broke up with her, that I had 2 options. It served its purpose. There's a timeline in which, the timeline I'm in now, with this girl, if I stay with her, I will lose everything in my company. However, if I don't stay with her, and I leave and we break up right now, I will be on a completely different timeline where I will eventually have the success. So it's up to me. And I decided I'm gonna leave. And unfortunately, it didn't work out with her. And even more unfortunate, she ended up going down a really bad path. She started doing drugs and it's horrible. I went on a different path. I come home, I'm completely heartbroken, I'm wrecked. But deep down, I knew things were gonna work out. I was in a different mindset, I was in a different timeline. And I'm sitting there and I'm stressed out financially. And all of a sudden I go, don't be stressed. You're on a timeline where things will work out. 6 days go by. I have a seminar, I'm feeling great. I borrow money from my friends. He helps me cover rent, helps me cover payroll. $70,000 my friend gave me. On day 12, January 12th, 2022, I do another event at my house. A guy comes up to me, how much to work with you one-on-one, Marcel? And I say $1 million. He's like, do you take crypto? Made $1 million on the spot. Instantaneously after breaking up with her, I went right back to my baseline of making $1 million a month. And every time I leveled up, every time I scaled, I entered a different timeline. I literally went from there to here, and suddenly my whole life has changed, right? Now I'm in a different timeline. Everything I do is different. It changes. I want you to think of it like this. Whenever you program your brain, you're helping your consciousness, not just your subconsciousness, right? Consciousness is your choice. Unconsciousness is the programming you have in this timeline. So your parents' conditioning, everything that happened to you up until now is your subconscious. So I could change that for you in this timeline. Or I could take you out of this timeline and put you into another timeline where your programming is already where it needs to be. Now I know this sounds wild, but in quantum physics, this is actually the theory. The theory is as follows. There's an infinite amount of parallel universes and realities with an infinite amount of outcomes. The question is, which outcome do you want to be a part of? Well, the only thing we can change is our consciousness. Science cannot explain consciousness, but I can tell you this: when your consciousness is aligned with a certain result, you will get it. Now, I've become an architect of creating and manifesting different things. That's why people come to me and their whole life they've gone to therapy and they can't fix their relationship, and suddenly they fix it on the spot. Why is that possible? Well, I'll tell you. It's possible because I understand this one concept. This is why I've been able to accelerate my progress so massively. I don't know if you guys know this. I've worked with some of the biggest people on the planet, and I've made a lot of money. But I was a guy who was bullied. I was fat. No girl liked me. I wasn't popular and I wasn't athletic. And somehow I turned that around. I become a championship athlete. Suddenly I'm becoming MVP. My confidence through the roof. I bring money out of thin air. I remember there were moments where I didn't even know where money would come from, but because I entered that timeline in my consciousness, it happened. And I keep saying enter that timeline. What does that mean? Well, it means that you restructure your entire identity. Your identity, and this is key. Write this down if you're just watching the video, I'm telling you, this is key. Write it down. We'll literally write this down around this so you actually do it, okay? Your future self determines your current timeline. If you think you're gonna die, right? A doctor comes in, he says, you have cancer, you're gonna die in 6 months. You now become a sick person if you buy into that timeline. If you believe that, immediately you feel anxious, immediately you feel stressed, immediately you feel hopeless. You've given up on life. But if you don't accept that, your consciousness says, no way, I'll live till 90 or 100 years old and I'll have beautiful kids and a long life. You will feel aligned with that. So how do you know when you entered the timeline? Because your body feels it. And deep down, you believe it. You see the future you want, and you believe it from the bottom of your soul. Look at me. I fucking want you to level up. I am literally telling you. I know this sounds crazy, but if you know what you want, and you believe it, and you are aligned with it emotionally, emotions create all actions. Ironically, when you leave one timeline and go to the next, there are no more limiting beliefs. There are no more bad habits. Instantly you change. That's why you see someone who's been addicted to drugs their whole life come to me. And I'm able to move their consciousness into a new timeline. And then suddenly, they no longer do drugs. I'm able to move someone who's heartbroken their whole life and move them into a different timeline. And they're no longer heartbroken, and instead they manifest their soulmate in under a week. I'm able to move someone who's been fat their whole life from that timeline into one where they become an athlete. 8 months later, they lose weight. What is it about this? I'm telling you, your consciousness is so unbelievably powerful. You know, Shakespeare says it best. He goes, there's more to heaven and earth than we can even begin to imagine. I cannot explain it to you. Science cannot explain it. We still fully don't understand. Think about how advanced ancient civilizations were. Romans, Egyptians, and even they don't understand. But I can tell you that the result speaks for itself. And I am walking, living proof of it. Come here, let me show you something. I'm just proud of this because I'm a guy who was homeless. I'm a guy who didn't have anything, okay? I'm excited to bring you into my home, give you a behind the scenes, and show you what I've built. Okay, don't view this as showing off. View this as inspiration. If I could do it against all odds, bullied, nobody liked me, no money, no fame, no connections, no popularity. And I took it and built it from scratch. Look at this. Look at this couch. Look at this out. Look at this. Look how beautiful this is. Look at the sunset. I built this with my bare hands and my consciousness. I want you to hear me out. There is a part of you that might be skeptical. Do not go into that timeline. Just think of it this way. What if I'm right? Does it hurt you to believe this? Does it hurt you to enter this map of reality? You could be very logical, you could be very practical. At the end of the day, the way I look at it is this mindset going to benefit me or not? The answer is clearly yes, because if I walk from point A to point B and you take the same steps as me, you'll get the same results. So it makes sense to just model what's working. I'm 27. I am at the pinnacle or peak of the next generation of personal development speakers. I'm the best in the world at what I do. And I'm telling you, allow this video to have taken you from one timeline into the next. Allow this video to have transformed the way you look at the world. I want you to look at the sunset with me, and I want you to think about how every sunset you have from now on is no longer in the previous timeline, it's in the new one. So let's enter a timeline together where you're subscribed to the channel, you are ready to change your life, and ultimately, if you want me to architect your mind, if you want me to help you move your consciousness into another timeline, book a call below with my team and me. Subscribe and book a call. If you want me to help you move your friends with you, your family with you, because I'm telling you, it's lonely sometimes. You want to make sure they're leveling up with you, share this with them. At the minimum, share it with them and have them watch it. Have them be a little bit open-minded. And let's level up together. I'll see you guys in the next video.